Y'all, life. Pay attention to these boys, your boys, other boys, all little boys, because they're having problems. I just saw two separate incidences. One is one boy was sitting in the middle, two boys were outside. Now my niece is 5, 6, and 7. Two boys were sitting outside of him, and they surrounded him, sitting down, and they all doing things in a sexual nature inappropriately. Then I see another incident where this other little boy is angry, and I mean extremely angry, but he has no emotion in his face. Mind you, I saw him, first time I really started noticing him, he was choking a boy on the floor. So they both stood on the floor, one was behind the other. So the aggressor was behind the other boy. He had his arm around his neck like this. His other arm was cupped over the first arm, pulling him backwards in a scooting motion, elongating his neck to be painful. And mind you, I looked at the boy that's doing this deed. He had no emotion in his face, none. He had no laughter. He had no shame. He had nothing. And it wasn't until I said, "You better get off of him," did he even stop. And then he looked at the boy that he was hurting and was like, he had that look like, you say something, I'm going to blankety blank you up. Ladies and gents, I can't say it enough. Pay attention to your children, but definitely your boys. We so worried about girls and having babies early and being fast and all that stuff. Yes, that's valid too. I get it. But these boys are crying out for help. They need attention. They need guidance. No, they don't need to man up every 2 seconds. Also, yeah, it's toughen up, sure. But there's a difference between, forcing your kid to do things that they're not ready for or that's inappropriate versus giving them tough lessons. There's a difference, and there is a balance. So I'm telling you, these boys are crying out for help because they may not show whatever in your house, which I know they do, but they going out there in the world and being terrorists. And yet you want somebody else to deal with your terror. They're terrorists. Not all, obviously, but a lot of them need help. And sometimes it's mental help, emotional help, behavioral help, physical help, whatever have you. We as parents got to stop turning a blind eye to our boys. They're crying out for help. They need it. And when they're 5, 6, 7, it's easier to get them good help than when they're 15 and 16. Because when they're 15 and 16, they're leaving your household and they're embarrassing you. And now you get calls from jail and whatnot, and you want to be embarrassed. But when they're 5, 6, and 7, you have control over the household. You have control over them. So that's where it starts at 5, 6, and 7, or 3, 4, and 5. That's because you can control that environment. You control where they go, whose house they go to, what school they go to. You control all of that. When they're 15 and 16, yeah, they're in your house, and you can control certain things, but they're going to parties, they're going to friends' houses, they're hanging out in the street, you're at work, and they're home and stuff like that. So they're doing their thing, and they're learning from their friends at 15 and 16. So you're going to want to control them at 5, 6, and 7. And 3, 4, and 5, because all that behavior is not cute at 3, 4, and 5, because it turns into 15 and 16-year-olds throwing tantrums in the mall. It turns 15 and 16-year-olds beating you up, cursing you out in public. That's what it turns into. So you got to save our boys. You have to save our boys. You got to. You got to take this seriously and save our boys, because our boys are turning into broken men. And I'm going to keep shouting it from the rooftops. Our young boys that's hurt and damaged are turning into broken men. And they're marrying your daughters. They're marrying your daughters, and they're beating on your daughters, and they're becoming deadbeat men. How many men do you know have traumatic childhoods that end up not being that way? Very little. Most of them turn out to be some sort of misfit to society. We got to rally around our boys, man. It starts with the boys. Like, comment, and subscribe. See you in the next one.